Discussion keeps the world turning.
This is Roundtable.
You're listening to Roundtable with myself, He Young. I'm joined by Fei Fei and Steve Hatherley in the studio. Coming up, is Baidu or Google still the go-to for answers? Gen Z says no thanks. Instead, they're turning to Douyin and Instagram for everything from lunch spots to life hacks. Why has social media become the new search engine? And our special segment, Motivational Monday, coming your way, will give you that adrenaline shot for the start of the week. Our podcast listeners can find us at Roundtable China on Apple Podcast. If you have questions that you would like us to answer on social issues, business, technology, or whatever moves your spirit, you can send those to roundtablepodcast@qq.com. It'd be great if you could send in voice memos because it'd be best to hear your voice on the show. Now let's turn our attention to a new generation of search engines or new ways in how we get information. It's official. Search engines, are losing ground, and social media and AI are taking their place. Young people have abandoned the old school ways of Googling and Baiduing in favor of platforms such as TikTok and Red, where videos, reviews, and algorithms deliver instant answers. Now, with generative AI chatbots that summarize answers from multiple sources, the search engine landscape is evolving faster than ever. So is this a trend or is it the dawn of a new era of how we find information? And the latest news seems to come from China and elsewhere as well. That is, young people no longer go to search engines and type in those words and click search.
Yes, but I think it's like they are just switching to different platforms for different services. For example, if they're looking for a good restaurant, they'll use the review app, which is 大众点评 here in China or Yelp in other countries. And then if they want to, say, search a destination for their traveling plans, then they probably will go to platforms like Xiaohongshu or Red or other platforms as well. Or if they're looking for news or what's new with the lifestyles, they probably will go to like short video platforms like TikTok or Douyin. Mm-hmm. It's not that they're not using Google or Baidu altogether. It's just they're off on different reasons.
There was an article by a tech media website here, and it talked about the fact that young people born in the 2000s say it's becoming increasingly difficult for people to find a reason to use search engines in life. They haven't used a search engine like Baidu for a long time. That's kind of like it would be Google in the West and then Baidu here in China. Would that be a fair assessment? Just kind of like the go-to in the past. Well, apparently those times are changing now. If they're looking for restaurants or things like that or fashion tips, then they're looking for different spots where perhaps in the past you would just Google something. You'd Google everything. Every question you had, you would go to a search engine. Every question you had, you'd go to Baidu before. But now there are some various outlets, and the game seems to be changing.
And, okay, I could be the dinosaur in the room when it comes to tech and search engine related issues. Just a quick question. I used to think that people would go online to search for, let's say, what's the monthly active user number of Taobao, for example. These kind of questions, more like factual questions. And then you go to search engines. That's what millennials and Gen Z, so those born in the 1980s and 1990s and so on, are used to, I suppose. But now it seems like with the examples that you guys have given, people are asking questions like how to plan dinners, where to go for shopping tips. And don't you find these are kind of like different questions? One's more factual. Yeah. One's more like give me suggestions. And if it's give me suggestions, I can't understand why people go to social media places because that's where, people talk about wonderful places to have dinner, or a lot of the times these are product placements, but it's a different type of search in a way.
Yeah, and your work, to be fair, your line of work largely depicts your searches between the hours of 9 and 6 p.m. I don't think the average searcher is looking for average monthly users of Taobao or something like that. So people are looking for that type of information now, and I think they can find faster and easier exactly the information they're looking for by using applications such as that. There's a real trend coming. Gartner made a stunning prediction forecasting the imminent and dramatic decline in search engine traffic by 2026. This is what they said. That's a research firm, by the way, Gartner. They said that by 2026, traditional search engine volume will drop by 25%. Search marketing losing shares to AI chatbots and other virtual agents as well. It's just that there are more players, I think, in the game now, whereas in the past you would have to go. It's like looking in. Remember phone books? I don't know if you ever.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever
What's
had
that?
them. Yeah, to find a phone number, you used to have to get this 10-pound book, this 5-kilogram book, and then flip through the 3,000 pages that are in there to try to find that little tiny one piece of information. Well, we don't do that anymore, do we? And now I feel like it's not exactly the same thing, but it's kind of like these big search engines were the phone book of the internet, but now we can find those telephone numbers and the information we're looking for without going to the phone book, if my analogy makes sense.
And that sort of reminds me of maybe the reason for young people are not going up on search engines for answers is because a lot of the time the results are just not useful at all. For example, I try to Baidu a trip to Taiyuan, to the city of Taiyuan, for instance. And the first things pop onto my screen are a lot of advertisements about Taiyuan. And then this Baidu Baike or Wikipedia page about what is Taiyuan, which I already know. I know Taiyuan is a city. I know where it is. All I want to know is what are the good places to visit? What are the good restaurants? What are the good hotels if I want to visit Taiyuan? But if I went on platforms like Xiaohongshu or Red, they can just instantly give me posts about, places to go, restaurants to eat, hotels to book, which is very convenient for me. And I guess that's one of the reasons is that a lot of the young people, they are sort of complaining that these search engines are forcing them to sift through a lot of advertisements to get to the information or the hikes they want. So, but TikToks or other platforms are more convenient, and that's the reason.
So who's doing this? Well, according to a recent article by Net Influencer, research conducted by Forbes, Advisor, and Talker Research in April of this year, they reveal a shift in online search behavior among Gen Z born between 1995 and 2009, and they call it social searching. And in that age group, Gen Z, a lot more are opting for social searching like TikTok, like Instagram. And they say that age matters. According to the study, 45% of Gen Z are more likely to use social media for their searches compared to about 35% of millennials. Those are people born between 81 and 94. 20% of Gen X, that's a group born between 1965 and 1980. And then 10% of boomers, the boomers from 1946 to 1964, they were born. So you can see the numbers drop a little bit. The older generations are still using your traditional search engines, but the younger people they're not using them as much anymore.
And also, could it be that with social media, immediately you're bombarded with pictures, photos, and short videos, and it doesn't really make us sound all that smart. We're not reading the words. Who's got time to read words? And words the fine print is really off-putting for information transformation in that sense.
Yeah, because and I'm in that group. I'm in that group of people. If I'm searching for for a how-to kind of step-by-step guide to something, or if I'm searching for an explanation about something, if I'm curious about something about Chinese history or Chinese culture, I would much rather watch a video of someone explaining it to me than reading a 5-page document that gives me the same information. It's just entertainment value, I think. You know, I can learn what I want to learn, but it's more passive as well. I can sit back with headphones on and just watch a screen, whereas opposed to click, search, click, search, click, search. Okay, is this the right thing I'm looking for? Okay, click, search, click, search. It's just an easier, more streamlined process, plus the entertainment value. So I totally get it.
Oh, but for me, I don't like the explanation videos online. I just find it really long. It lasts like for at least 2 minutes. Sorry, lasts for at least 2 minutes, and I have to sit through the 2 minutes.
Oh, poor you! This is how spoiled we are. Seriously. This is how spoiled people have become these days. Short attention spans. This is why social media has become a place for people to search as well. That's what experts say. It's a spot where you don't have to have a lot of attention span or a long attention span. You get your information quickly. You get to the meat of what you want, and then off you go on to the next thing you're looking for. But Feifei, you bring up a really great point. 2 minutes now seems too long, right? And it sounds like I was attacking you before. I wasn't, because I'm the same way, and everybody's the same way these days.
Yeah. And also, I might be a little critical here, but I suppose, the biggest enemy for traditional search is not social media. It is AI chatbots, because with social media and traditional search engines, you still need to go through one step. That is, you click search, you go into this page that's lined up with all this information, one with pictures, videos, that's social media, and the other with more text. But you still need to decipher which one needle out of this digital haystack has the most relevant information for me. And on these social media platforms, there are plenty of sponsored content. There are plenty of posts you don't know why appears first on your page. You still need to go through that process of you selecting information. But with AI chatbots, it just you type in the prompt, and immediately personalized information is synthesized and presented to you. And gosh, I love to be spoon-fed, most people might feel.
And that's another reason why these big search engines are dying. And when you search for this type of news from the Western world, Google is always the kind of the topic of the story. And they say that there are new AI-powered search engines on the way to compete. The tech world is buzzing with news about OpenAI set to challenge Google with their own search engine launch, and that promises to integrate cutting-edge AI to enhance search results and the user experience, two of the things, Hyung, you were just talking about. Microsoft, they're making headlines. They're going to be redefining the search engine landscape by leveraging their own AI technologies to outpace the competitors. And there's more. This is what I was talking about when I said before, there are more players coming to the table to play the game, and the tech is rising. How people want to receive their information, that's changing. This is like a big bowl of soup with a lot of different ingredients, and it's all swirling, and it's going to take a couple of years, maybe more, to see where it settles before we get to our next kind of phase. Because these giant search engines, I mean, Google started back in 1998? I remember it entered pop culture in around 2002. It was mentioned in a drama when they turned it into a verb, right? Like, did you Google her? And after that, it just became the way it was. And now we're redefining the way it will be.
And I guess then it reminds me of how social media platforms are useful for things like fashion tips, like what sort of clothes I want to buy or would fit me the most. But then at the same time, if we're talking about news stories or piece of facts, then a lot of the times if you go on to platforms like Douyin or TikTok, you will be confused with a lot of fake news. Is that some of the videos are made from a sentence that's taken out of the context and misleading you to believing in something else.
Yeah, that's interesting because Gen Z users prefer video format because they say it feels it gives them a more comprehensive search result. So they're seeing, a 360 view of a destination or an experience or a product. But you're right. That's something that people really need to be aware of, the authenticity of the information that they're receiving.
Especially if you're getting news or some important information that you would like to feel you'd be able to trust it, then I have to say, traditional media outlets sounds really good.
Yeah, and it still is that way.
Yeah.
I know I keep saying Google over and over, but again, in the West, if you search this topic, that's what they talk about. And they do say that for lighter topics, then they're going to things like TikTok or Instagram or things like that. But for heavier topics, people are still using the bigger search engines for that.
And the future of search may well be defined not by a single platform or tool, but by any newcomers or all these newcomers in the ecosystem where traditional search engines, social media, and AI work in tandem, offering us smarter, faster, and possibly more personalized ways to discover and interact with the world around us. Coming up next, Motivational Monday.
Motivational Mondays. Motivational Mondays.
So what do you have for us, Feifei?
New fridge.
So I have a quote from a book called This Changes Everything, Capitalism versus the Climate. Because Monday, Double 11, is not only a shopping festival, but is also the opening of a climate change conference in Azerbaijan. And I find this sentence very awakening. It says, a great many of us engage in this kind of climate change denial. We look for a split second and then we look away. Or we look, but then turn it into a joke, which is another way of looking away. Or maybe we do look, really look, but then inevitably we seem to forget. Remember and then forget again. Climate change is like that. It's hard to keep it in your head for very long, and we engage in this odd form of on-again, off-again ecological amnesia for perfectly rational reasons. We deny because we fear that letting in the full reality of this crisis will change everything.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think that's true, right? We hear about it in the news. We hear a news story. We talk about it. And then the next news story comes and we tend to forget about it. So, yeah, you're right. Having these types of events is important so that we stop forgetting about it.
Yes, indeed. And Steve, okay, well, then I will continue with what I have to share here, I suppose. For today's Motivational Monday, let's reflect on the remarkable journey of Quincy Jones, one of the most powerful forces in popular music for more than half of a century. He passed away on November the 3rd at age 91. Quincy wasn't just a prolific composer, arranger, and producer. He was a visionary who redefined what was possible in the music industry in America and beyond. And he broke down barriers, working tirelessly to merge genres and amplify voices, especially within Black popular art, at a time when the industry was far more segregated. It's kind of hard to fathom today, like all that Quincy achieved, from producing the highest-selling album of all time, Michael Jackson's Thriller, as well as pioneering in numerous movie scores and soundtracks, such as The Color Purple, to lifting the careers of countless artists. And Quincy's life is proof of the unstoppable strength that comes from constantly pushing boundaries. Nominated for Grammy Awards 80 times with 28 wins, he stood shoulder to shoulder with the giants, the greats, embodying excellence across generations. And he also showed us that true motivation strength isn't just about self-improvement. It's about setting the stage for others, elevating communities, and building legacies that reach far beyond oneself. And on this Motivational Monday, let's take a page from Quincy's story, the resilience, the risk-taking, the collaborations that made his life's work so extraordinary. For anyone out there grinding on a big project or envisioning their future, let this be a reminder that success often comes to those who dare to be limitless. He chased opportunities, challenged norms, and worked relentlessly to shape his dreams into realities. And that same drive is something we can all bring into our lives, no matter our field. So today, let's channel some of that spirit. And I just feel that for Quincy's story, that's fuel for every dreamer out there who's ready to soar and make some waves. And on that note, let's close today's segment with one of Quincy Jones' greatest collaborations with Michael Jackson, Thriller. This is still the best-selling album of all time with over 70 million copies sold worldwide. Additionally, Thriller was the first album to reach 30 times platinum status in the US alone. May this legendary track fuel our drive to push limits and pursue the extraordinary in all we do. Michael Jackson's Thriller. Do enjoy the music. And that brings us to the end of today's show. Thank you so much, Steve Hatherley and Fei Fei, for joining the discussion. I'm He Young. We'll see you next time.